Would you love to feel like you have more agency in your life? How about times of rest and refilling? Well, this good stuff doesn't happen on its own. You can be intentional about creating space and making discerned decisions for yourself about how you spend your time. Today, I'm going to get even more specific about starting a rhythm of life, and I'm going to share with you my own personal rhythm as it is today. I'm also going to give you a little bit of a step-by-step way to begin your own rhythm of life. It is still very alive and organic, as you'll see when I talk about it, but I want to give you even more handholds so you can make your way forward, putting into place patterns of refreshment and rest in an ongoing way. And if you want to, you can go back and watch my other video on this theme in the description box below. The link will be there. So I'm going to share my screen with you as we walk through further definitions and my own rhythm of life. And then I'll come back and I'll share some next steps for you as you make your way forward. Well, here we are, and I'm going to walk you through, as I mentioned, my current and personal rhythm of life. And I just want to show you also just some quotes that I love, some inspiration that I love. We're going to look at other samples as well. So this will just give you a beautiful overview. So here is a rhythm of life. And I love that there's an olive tree here. It's very organic. I want you to keep remembering that. So here's the beautiful question. This is my favorite question when it comes to a rhythm of life. It's from Ruth Haley Barton in her book, Sacred Rhythms. She asked this question: how do I want to live so I can be who I want to be? Isn't that just the most beautiful, life-giving question? It is so evocative. It's like, oh, I want to be a kind of person. What will it take to become that? So this is a beautiful place to start when we're thinking about building a rhythm of life. Here's another quote from St. Clare of Assisi. Our body is not made of iron. Our strength is not that of stone. Live and hope in the Lord, and let your service be according to reason. She wrote this a long time ago. I get it. But you get it too, right? We are not a machine. We are a human being. And even all the service that we do can be within reason for our own energies, our mental energy, our emotional energy, our physical energy. God is not asking us to burn out. So here are some definitions of a rhythm of life that I love. And again, I'm using the word rhythm of life. I've mentioned before that it's classically called a rule of life, and that is what everyone's talking about here. I like to call it a rhythm of life. It's just a little bit more, melodic and gracious sounding, but you call it a rule of life, you call it a rhythm of life, call it whatever you want. We're just going to get one going. So I like to think of a rhythm of life like a trellis. This is Marjorie Thompson from her book, Soul Feast. And by the way, any book or person that I'm mentioning here would be great to get and read and learn more. So Marjorie Thompson says this: a rule of life is a pattern of spiritual disciplines that provide structure and direction for growth in holiness. It is meant to help us establish a rhythm of daily living, a basic order within which new freedoms can grow. A rule of life, like a trellis, curbs our tendency to wander and supports our frail efforts to grow spiritually. I love the image of a trellis. A trellis is sort of that grid made of wood usually, and a vine grows up on there. That's what a rhythm of life is for us. It's a structure on which the goodness of our life can grow. So remember the trellis idea. Stephen Macchia, from his book, Crafting a Rule of Life, highly recommend. He says, a holistic description of the spirit-empowered rhythms and relationships that create, redeem, sustain, and transform the life God invites you to humbly fulfill for God's glory. That is what a rule of life is. Really inspirational. And here's Evan Howard from spiritualityshop.org. You can see his website right there. He says this: a rule of life is a concrete expression of the life intentions of a Christian community or individual made in order to help maintain or mature relationship with God and the gospel. So you can see these are really life-giving, amazing, true words. So I encourage you to check all these people out to learn more. Of course, we have to go all the way back to St. Benedict because he was actually the first person to craft a rule. So the monastic movement began in the 3rd century. They're called the Benedictines now. And the most successful rule written for a community was that of Benedict of Nursia around 529. St. Benedict's rule contained 73 chapters and outlined all the guidelines for everyone in the community. So it's way more than we're talking about here. It was everything it took to live functionally in a community of people. So the Benedictines are great. They are famous for their motto, ora et labora, which is Latin for pray and work, which is what we're trying to do here. We're not just doing this for our own benefit. We're actually trying to grow in love and service for other people. And again, without burning out. Modern rhythms. We believe in the spirit of pray and work. And so we borrow this centuries-old idea to prioritize a way of living we might call a rhythm of life. So here are some really important questions. How has God uniquely designed me? You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that is good to remember. Here's another question. What do I really want? What I want matters. God has placed these desires within us. He's placed gifts within us. How badly do I want whatever it is I want? Right? Am I willing to rearrange my life for what my heart most wants? Again, these questions are from Ruth Haley Barton in Sacred Rhythms. She's a master at asking these really good questions. I love this last one. Am I willing to rearrange my life for what my heart most wants? That gets back to that idea that I'm becoming a kind of person. What will it take to sustain that person? So here are some modern examples. Here's Mother Teresa. This is from Come Be My Light, the book that was written after her passing. So this is the rule of life that she had for all of her sisters who worked, and we all know that they served the poorest of the poor. They attended the dying. They fed and helped the sick, and they fed the extremely poor. She knew that her sisters could not do this 24/7. So this was what she set up for them so that they could stay healthy in all different kinds of ways. So of course they were Catholics, so free will confession, not obligatory though. Daily 30 minutes of meditation, twice daily examen of conscience. So these are her daily practices. Daily 30 minutes spiritual reading. So this is what she wanted to do and what she had all of her sisters do daily. Now listen to her rhythm. In regards to personal retreat, 1 day per week, so that's a Sabbath. 1 week per month, so they only worked 3 months out of the 4 every month. 1 month of the year, so they only worked 11 months. And then 1 year, 1 whole year in 6. And all of these retreats were back at the mother house, and this is what she said, were in contemplation and penance together with solitude. All the sisters, can gather in the spiritual strength which she might have used up in the service of the poor. Now, isn't this just the most beautiful thing, fully taking into consideration that we are human beings, organic. We need time with God. We need rest, prayer to refill, so especially in the work they did to go back out there and be among the poor and the dying. I've actually tried to take this on. When I get into my own personal one, you'll see I'm trying to get as close to what Mother Teresa is doing as I can. And it's much easier now because I'm older and I have more control of my calendar. But I just think this is a beautiful example to follow. So again, that's Mother Teresa, Come Be My Light. Here is Martin Luther King Jr.'s rhythm of life. Now notice his is different. His is not based on the calendar like Mother Teresa's was. His is more about the kind of person he is and wants to continue to be. So these are the things that he set up to be his ongoing pattern. To meditate daily on the teachings and life of Jesus. To remember always that the nonviolent movement in Birmingham seeks justice and reconciliation, not victory. Walk and talk in the manner of love, for God is love. To pray daily to be used by God in order that all might be free. To observe with both friend and foe the ordinary rules of courtesy. Aren't these beautiful? To seek to perform regular service for others and the world. To refrain from violence of fist, tongue, or heart. To strive to be in good spiritual and bodily health. and to follow the directions of the movement and the captain of a demonstration. So that's about humility and not having to be first if he was among a group. There's just so much goodness in here about God's love, about courtesy, about serving others, about refraining from violence. And you can tell this sounds like him. Mother Teresa's sounded like hers and suited her. That's the beautiful thing about a rhythm of life. It suits who you are, and it flows from who you are. Here we are. This is what I told you we were going to do. I'm going to share with you my personal rhythm of life. So here it is. This is not the daily, weekly, monthly thing yet. These are my life intentions. So I kind of borrowed from Martin Luther with life intentions, and I also borrowed from Mother Teresa, as you'll see when we move forward one slide here. But here's my main question. What does it take to sustain the life I'm currently living? The refilling must match the outpouring. So that changes, actually, as an aside here, that changes. There's just ways in which you need to stay in touch with your own energy and what is happening on your calendar. If it's a big season of outpouring, it's okay to double down on the practices that keep you grounded. So this is the question I ask myself. What does it take to sustain the life I'm living? I want to thrive and not just survive. So here are my life intentions. To be who I am and love from the center of that place. That's from Romans 12. To nurture my belief and experience that God is love and always with me. To be present to the person with whom I'm talking. To share with others all that I have learned with grounded optimism and practical spirituality. That's me. And to remember that I and all those I meet are in process, and to liberally extend grace. So these are my intentions. Okay, from those spring this. This is my daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly list now. Now remember, at the top you can see it says, second half of life, empty nester. I run my own organization. So I have all the freedom in the world to make all different kinds of choices. And depending on your life circumstance, it's going to look completely different. But remember again, I'm 61. I have my own nonprofit. I'm completely in charge of my own calendar. That's why it can look like this right now. So here instead of daily, I said most days, because some days this doesn't happen. So variations on Bible reading. I love to listen to the Bible, or sometimes there are beautiful apps out there that can help you read the Bible. So variations on Bible reading, worship music, journaling, gratitude, spiritual reading, formational podcasts, and prayer apps. So most days, and I don't do all of these. I like to have a list, and sometimes because even though this is a structure, I'm kind of random and creative by nature, so I like to know that I have choices. It helps me stick to this. So that's why it looks like this. Weekly, church community. We also have a small group every couple weeks, 24-hour Sabbath, from Friday night to Saturday night. I do no work. I look at no email. I either have fun and rest or do whatever, but one day a week, I power it all down. Monthly, I have a half a day of solitude on a Friday morning, and I just have time with God. And either I go somewhere, or sometimes I can sit here in my beautiful office and I'm just alone and it's quiet and I love it. I also have monthly, 1 week a month with no appointments so that I can focus on writing. That's a beautiful monthly way to power down in a different way. And then 3 weeks of the month, I meet with people. Quarterly, I have a 24-hour retreat. My husband and I go to this place. It's about 45 minutes south of us, and we just have an overnight retreat. It's a monastery. It's a working monastery. People are praying multiple times a day. It's beautiful, and I get time with God in that way. Now, 3 times per year, we have a writing week where we take one of those weeks and we usually go away. It is work, but it's also a refilling time as we usually go somewhere beautiful. But I get to focus on one thing, which is content creation. And then yearly, we've done this now 4 years in a row. This is a newer thing. My husband and I do a July sabbatical, and we rest from all work, email, and social media for a whole month. I do none of those things. And I have to tell you, it feels so good to power all of that down. It's time for rest and play and refilling and refreshment and personal projects, and it includes our vacation and time with family and friends. So this is what my personal rhythm of life looks like right now in this season of life. So here are some of my points on that. This is what it takes for me to feel as though I can keep up with all the things I do. all this content I'm creating, email, blog posts, podcasts. Some of the things I say, even what I'm saying to you right now, the emails we do, the podcast episodes, the YouTube videos, articles we're writing. I mean, any number of things we're doing, that's fresh content that is coming from within me. I don't have an endless supply of that unless I am with God refilling, hearing scripture, reflecting on what I'm learning, taking in good reading or good learning from really quality people. There's so many ways to take in goodness so that I have something to pour out. I also enjoy my relationships with family, friends, community. So that's all the stuff, right? Where does that energy come from? I must refill and replenish if I desire to keep up with the life I have chosen. Now, here's a different one. When I was 36 years old, I had 3 little kids. When I was 36, my youngest was 2. So they were probably 2, 5, and 8. So here's what it looks like. A lot smaller, right? Some days, not even most days, some days, variations on Bible reading, journaling, gratitude, spiritual reading, right? Every day, worship music. At that point, it was worship that was the center of my spiritual practices because I could fill my home with it. I could fill my car with it. I had a way of refilling in that way that was just so perfect for that season of life. Again, weekly church community, Bible studies, small groups, very church oriented, I know. Monthly, I still had a half day of solitude and I had a MOPS group of women. It was wonderful. And then yearly, we went on vacation as a family. And then letting it count as often as I can remember. Letting it count just has to do with remembering that there are so many ways for God to meet us in our everyday actual lives. A sunset, a walk on the beach, an encouraging text from a friend. I mean, there are so many ways that goodness breaks in. And so I was learning in that season to receive all of those because when you have little kids, that's kind of a season of its own with so many moving parts. And so this is what it looked like then. So it changes over the course of time depending on what season of life you're in. So here's rhythms of overflow leadership. Remember, I told you before, we're not doing this just for our own sake. We're doing this because we want to love and serve others. So we receive and we overflow. We abide and we bear fruit. This is John 15. It is an organic process that we cannot manipulate. We cooperate. This is a gentle process and a progression. So here's the question again. How do I want to live so I can be who I want to be? That is the really, really big question that I would love for you to hold in your heart, to allow it to inspire you, to inform how you're going to move forward as you begin to craft your own rhythm of life. I encourage you to get Ruth Haley Barton's book, Sacred Rhythms, and Stephen Macchia's book, Crafting a Rule of Life. These will be great for you to get rolling. What I'm doing in this whole video is really, again, a 101 version of Rhythm of Life. I'm being very personal. I'm telling you what mine is like. I'm also trying to give you helps. In the next section of this video, I'm going to share with you ways that you can get going on this. How do I want to live so I can be who I want to be? Well, now that we've engaged an overview of a rhythm of life, and I've shared with you my own personal spiritual rhythm of life, how might you take your next steps? I've shared in my other video, again, linked below, that it's good to begin small and with practices you are likely already engaging. But to make this really simple, let's go through it together. What you want to do first is set aside some time to reflect on that which is life-giving to you, those things that refill you, that replenish you, or that make you feel like you've actually rested. And once you have that list, you're going to prioritize it with practices that you want to begin to put on your calendar, and you want them to be a patterned part of your life moving forward. So, of course, there are many ways to structure your rhythm of life. You can Google this like we Google everything else. I'm just going to give you a very simple and straightforward way to start making a rhythm of life that is mostly based on your spiritual life, because I'm trying to get us to slow down, to unhurry, to pivot inward, to focus on rest and replenishing. So let's just start here, small and simple. We're also going to do this one based on time, because I think that's another good thing to do. A lot of us actually have calendars, right? Duh. But we have daily things we do, weekly things we do, monthly, quarterly, yearly. I think starting with the soul and also starting with time frames, patterns that we want to build on over the course of time just makes sense as a way to start. So that's how we're going to do this one today. If you want to do this, you can do it on the computer or get out a piece of paper. Just make a chart marked with columns, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Do not get overwhelmed. We're going to take this in bite sizes and then just begin to place the life-giving practices that you came up with in their most beneficial locations, right? You've heard of a first draft before. Just make a first draft. Put things where you think they might go and where they might be the most helpful to you. I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to say it again. It's best not to start big. Sure, if you want to throw all your items on there and look at that, and that's good, but then get yourself another chart, and you don't have to have multiple items in every single column and get all that rolling at once. To keep it simple at the beginning, you could just have one item in each column, or you could begin with just one or two columns of ideas. And when I'm talking about columns, I'm talking about the daily, weekly, monthly. So you might have the daily column lit up right now. Maybe the monthly one as well, if you'd like. You don't have to do all of the columns all at once. If it helps you, like I said before, to get all of the cool things you want to do all into all the places on the whole chart so it's filled out, that's fine. But then pare it down to either one in each of those columns or just two of the columns maybe filled out. Because what you're going to do then is get very specific. Because what matters most is that you choose a few practices, and it's more about the habit, right? We're going to build habits slowly over time. We're going to make it fun for ourselves. We're going to make it even delightful for ourselves if we want to. And then you can always add more as time goes on. So in the earlier part of the video when I was showing you my little PowerPoint, if you don't want to make a chart, you noticed that I just had a list. I had the word daily dashed, and I listed stuff. Feel free to do that as well. The thing is to make the small, simple, and gracious plan and get it into your calendar before anyone else claims your time. And then you want to continue these patterns. For example, if I get to my monthly half day of solitude and reflection, and I don't feel like engaging it, I do it anyway. I planned it months ago. It's on my calendar, and I am, in fact, keeping it like a doctor's appointment because my feelings at that point don't get to make the decision. See, I already made the decision weeks ago or months ago, and I know that I set aside these times to keep, basically, I'm keeping the gears of my soul oiled, right? You're filling your gas tank, you're brushing your teeth. These are all great patterns that keep your car running or keep your breath smelling fresh. What if I have a monthly time, it's just half a day, and I blow that off? Well, the world's not going to end. But if I keep it, there's something about an aliveness inside of me that just keeps being nurtured. So when you get there, don't let something else steal that time. And I want to say this too. Remember, your rhythm of life is your rhythm of life. You can update and change it whenever you want. I do it all the time. If something no longer serves you, then change it. Maybe something doesn't need to be weekly anymore and it could become monthly. Or maybe you realize I need this daily. Or maybe it doesn't work at all. I go back to my rhythm of life and I change things and I morph it. I did show you in the video earlier that I had one looked different when I was in my 30s than the one now in my 60s. Life changes and your rhythm of life can change with you, right? What you don't want to do is make a prison for yourself. You are just simply identifying that which replenishes you, and you're becoming more intentional about engaging these practices. It's why we approach all of this in a spirit of grace. So make it pleasant, make it fun, get somewhere beautiful, do something that makes your heart sing. In our book, What Does Your Soul Love? The title is also a chapter title on the theme of joy. The question, what does your soul love, is a great question to ask yourself and then move toward those particular things. There is actually a link below in the description box as well, so you can get the book, What Is Your Soul Love? I highly recommend. It'll probably help you engage even as you're making your rhythm of life. So the key here is to get to your calendar before it fills up and someone else makes decisions for you. Typically in the summer, I plan the following year. So this summer, in the summer of 2025, I will be looking at my 2026 calendar. I will take a day and I will just look it through. My husband and I usually sit down together because we coordinate these things together. And in a way, we kind of hold each other accountable, which is really fun. So we'll be looking at our 2026 calendar, and I will place all of my weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly rhythm of life plans. So the whole year next year has all the really important things already there. They are sacred, and I do not move them unless something really comes up, and then I can make an adjustment. And as a side note, if someone asks you if you're busy on one of those days, all you have to do is say, I'm so sorry, I'm not available then. How about this other day and time? You don't have to explain yourself. Your calendar is sacrosanct. People will believe you. If you say you're busy, you're busy. What I'm saying is, and maybe the reason I'm saying all these things is because sometimes it's very easy to make these big plans and then we get there and we go, oh, I don't feel like it, or something comes up, or whatever happens. But keep these beautiful habits and practices going. It is a way to keep a sense of presence, maybe a little bit of peace way deep down inside when things are stressful on the surface. Fruit will emerge. You will be surprised as you keep yourself refreshed. You will likely have more stamina, maybe a little less anxiety. Life will keep happening. I know that. I live in this world. Life will keep happening. And yet, your rhythm of life gives you a freshness, discernment, creativity, wisdom, presence. There is so much goodness that comes from having solid, beautiful, spiritual habits. And just so you know, I'm actually not a structured person. I do have a structure because I'm running an organization and I have to do a certain amount of that, but just by nature and temperament, I'm actually a more random, spontaneous, and creative person. But I still have a rhythm of life because I believe with all my heart that calendaring these things and keeping them is the best thing I can do for me and for those around me, right? It's not just for us. We're doing this so that we can love people and serve people in a lasting, ongoing, life-giving way. That's why I double down on this, because I know left to myself, I do not have everything it takes to go 24/7 without rest and refilling and just continuing to pour out. That's not how our bodies work. So the more you do, the more you love, the more you serve, the more it's good to have a rhythm of life. And I want to say this. Once you've gotten your kind of spiritual rhythm of life, I don't like to break it down in these technical terms like this, but we have sort of focused on our spiritual rhythm of life, our resting, replenishing, refilling. You can always add in other categories of your life like relationships, physical exercise, creativity, emotional growth, vocational growth. The list is endless. But today, again, I'm just trying to get you rolling. So don't overwhelm yourself with all these columns and all these categories. Start small, add things as you can and as you want. I actually like to begin with spiritual growth because I believe it's, again, the best place to begin is every part of yourself benefits from your own times of reflection, prayer, and rest. So if you've made it this far, congratulations. I really hope this further clarifies for you how to take some specific next steps. And just so you know, we dig deeply into forming a rhythm of life inside our PACE program. PACE is training, mentoring, and coaching in spiritual formation and leadership. And it's a 2-year cohort process that will train you how to live and lead and influence others from a focused center. We talk about a rhythm of life all the way through this, and you actually develop it. We help you. We walk with you as you do it and as you live it out. So you don't have to go it alone. Our PACE participants serve others in all kinds of capacities: education, therapy, coaching, pastoring, and more. So if you want to learn more about joining us for PACE, go to unhurriedliving.com/PACE. And as always, the link will be in the description box below. Well, let me know in the comments how you plan to engage your own rhythm of life. As always, I would love to hear from you, and blessings to you as you make your way. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this, and click the notification bell so you'll know when we drop any new content. I love connecting with intentional people just like you.